It's May 10th, 2020, and I finally got the courage to watch a movie because a friend has been recommending it and praising it for the past couple months, and that is Lost in Translation. So after watching this on a late night, I was fascinated and wanted to learn more, but also had a high tendency of watching it again to really dig deep into what everything is trying to say in this movie. So the next day came, which is today, and I watched it again. And right now, these are my thoughts on the movie since I saw it from the second time. And I am mind blown, even to the point of saying it could end up being in my top 10 movies of all time, which is crazy to say. But if you go on YouTube and you type in Lost in Translation, you'll see a ton of videos on how the relationship matters, or depression is shown, or how things are presented through the film lens. And I really wanted to talk about this movie, so my initial thing was to do a movie review, but I felt like I had a lot more to say. So what I really want to talk about is the matter of music in this movie. So when you really look at Lost in Translation, it is about two people that are having a midlife crisis, and they are also in this deep depression and loneliness even though they have someone. But that one person is so far away and distant from the person, and they don't understand who they are with, it still feels lonely. And you can show that through face reactions, you can show that through how body language is presented, or through conversations. But I really think something that really takes that by the handle and goes with it is the music within this film. But I have to prove that to you before I go really deep into what I mean by this. So when we see this is during the night out, they go to this karaoke bar and they start singing. And on the surface, we see this happiness, and they are happy to be there and be doing something in this whole country they do not know the language to. And there's this language barrier, even hanging out with people that still have that language barrier. But they are all connected with the songs that they're singing because everyone knows the words. But we really see the sadness in this movie during the most happy parts of when they're together. Bob and Charlotte, we see them singing and smiling at each other, but once they leave the room, we see this calm and loneliness with them just sitting on a bench. You might take it as a comfort moment or finally being in a state of happiness, but I really do think that it shows the true deep depression and sadness within this film. Because there is no reaction. There is really no connection. But the only thing that is there of movement and meaning is the head on the shoulder of Bob's character. That alone shows their connection between the characters, and they are both feeling the same way. But even in this happy moment, it's still continuing. The sadness is happening. So through that, we later on get this amazing scene between Charlotte and Bob of them sitting in bed and just letting out all their feeling. I don't think we get to that moment without that sadness within the happiness of this movie. Another point I would like to make, when we see Charlotte visiting different places, going to this temple and watching people pray in their religion, or we see her go and find more people in this culture, we see this kind of holy type of music playing in the background. And with that music shows the love between the connection of the people that are praising this person, but we also see that Charlotte's disconnected from that. And this music really amplifies the sadness that Charlotte is feeling. And especially at the end of this movie, where Bob is about to leave and go back to his family, but he sees Charlotte, it cuts off. And we see them whispering something. We don't know what that is, but it's something powerful. And right after that happens, we hear this music come up of this relief, not a sadness, a sense of happiness that everything's going to be okay, which is the first song we have heard that gives that sense of relief in the whole movie. So you might not really get that very good ending that you want, is that some people watch this, but you get this relief of this song and happiness that this song really conveys the ending of this movie. Because if you take out the music, you just have Bill Murray sitting there and thinking, but the music shows this sense of relief and he smiles at the right parts of the song, which really amplifies the sense of, but also I want you to think back in this movie and really put everything together. Because most of the most important scenes in this entire film take place in a bar. And do you know what is happening in that bar? Music is playing. How do the people connect in this movie? Music. When it's clapping, when the first time they lock eyes in this bar, and how they had this first conversation. The music brings them together. But also, what almost dooms this relationship and making this one sense of happiness? Music. Music dooms this. Because Bob character sleeps with the woman that is singing. So when you're really, really looking deep into this film, music is the sense that is driving this story. Happiness comes from music. Sadness comes from music. We see that throughout the whole film. Because the most powerful moments in Lost in Translation are the moments of loneliness, where they're just sitting there, looking out the window, taking a bath, shaving. Every one of these moments gets interrupted by something, and that sense of loneliness goes away for a quick second, but also returns when they actually realize who they're talking to. That's why the loneliness really connects with the music in this movie, because it is that sense of silence. You're not saying a word. The music is translating what your feelings are. But anyways, this movie is fantastic. The acting is on another level. We have a Bill Murray that has been in the business forever and is finally getting a role where he doesn't really need to be this comedic star, where he can really dig deep in this movie. And I don't know Bill Murray personally, but I also feel like he's bringing a lot with him in this movie. Then you also get a young actress, Scarlett Johansson, 17 at the time, and going so deep into this role, it is incredible. The way shots are set up in this movie and just how it's just them alone is incredible. Even when they're with others, you still have this sense of aloneness. This movie has blown me away. I will watch this movie forever. I've learned a lot from it, actually. And it's very hard to find those type of movies where you learn a lot from. But Lost in Translation is one you do not want to keep on postponing on your watch list, because it is simply a masterpiece.